Hello and welcome to PsychBoost. In this video we'll be looking at our final theory of romantic relationship. We'll be discussing Duck's phase model of breakdown. So we'll define Duck's theory of breakdown by looking at the key terms pre-existing doom, mechanical failure, sudden death, and look at the stages intra-psychic, didactic, social and grave digging. We will of course look at some evaluative research and give you some ways to extend those evaluations. So before we talk about Duck's phase model of breakdown, Duck gives us some reasons why relationships might break down in the first place. The first, pre-existing doom, is the idea that individuals weren't even compatible when they first met. You might see a couple and go, wow, he's not right for her. It's that kind of scenario where two people just aren't well matched. Another reason why relationships might break down is mechanical failure. So this is the most common reason for a relationship to break down. Two people who are well-meaning, who do generally get on quite well, just simply after a certain amount of time, just aren't able to function as a couple. Maybe they've had too many arguments. Maybe they just want different things out of life and are working to separate goals. Or sudden death. This is when a traumatic event hits, so perhaps one partner has been caught cheating, or there's been a huge argument, perhaps with violence. But Duck suggests that these breakdowns aren't just a one-off event. You have a perfectly fine relationship, and then it all falls apart. Duck suggests that the ending of a relationship will pass through 4 stages. The first stage being the Intra-psychic stage. So at this point, one or perhaps both of the partners are thinking about their relationship and they're thinking about the problems in the relationship. They might focus on the other person's behaviour. They might consider in their head ways that they might go and confront their partner about their concerns. They might consider ways to save their relationship or think about alternative relationships that they might be able to have. At this stage, they may confide into a very close friend their concerns. But it's at the didactic stage, so the conversational stage, that the partners will actually confront each other. They'll discuss their relationship issues, and they might have conversations about how they feel their relationship is unequal. They might complain about a lack of intimacy, and they might discuss the implications of breaking up, such as potential costs about moving out or splitting up possessions. At the didactic stage, at the conversational stage, the relationships can still be saved. They can discuss measures in which to save the relationship and put them into place. But the next stage, the social phase, is when the partners will announce they're splitting up to their social network. So family, friends are told the relationship's coming to an end, and these social network individuals are in some way expected to come down on a side. They'll generally tend to support one or the other partner. The individual partners will then go on to do activities that's trying to get over the relationship. So they might start going out a little bit more. They might start trying to enhance their relationship with their friends. And they'll also communicate practical aspects about breaking up the relationship. So they'll organise childcare and attempt to sell the home. At this social phase, the breakdown really is official, and it's very difficult to go back from this stage without a bit of a loss of face. So if it gets to the social stage, in most cases this is game over for the relationship. And the final stage is the grave dressing stage. The relationship is over now, so each of the partners need to create a story about how the breakup happened that makes them look as good as possible when they communicate to their friends and family. They'll often build this narrative around how maybe it was their partner's fault the relationship broke down. They might blame the lack of intimacy, financial concerns, or they might give arguments out of circumstances outside their control that led to the breakdown of the relationship. But internally they might actually question their own motives. They might wonder whether the decision was right for them and worry about how the breakup might have altered their social network. So some evaluative research that might back up these breakdown stages. We have Tashiro and Fraser, who use a self-report mechanism. They looked at 96 undergraduate students and got these students to recall a recent breakup. Now the findings from these self-reports showed that after a breakdown, participants would experience both emotional distress but also personal growth. So it might improve their agreeableness. Generally, Tashiro and Fraser's results suggested that relationship breakdowns are staged, and especially the grave dressing stage allows the individual to cope with the loss of the relationship and go on to recover. We could of course criticise Tashiro and Fraser's study because the study lacks population validity. This study only included undergraduates, so maybe it's not generalisable to most of the relationships, say with older people. Also, because the methodology used a retrospective self-report method, it may lack validity because memory is reconstructive. We don't actually remember things as they truly were. More research in 2012 looking at virtual relationships in the social network Facebook also showed that some aspects of Duck's breakdown model would apply to these virtual communications. So using 208 participants on Facebook, their activity was looked at as they went through relationship breakdowns. Their activity matched the social phases as suggested by Duck's breakdown model. So they changed Facebook status to "it's complicated," they took down tag photographs, and they also did grave dressing and resurrection phases. After a recent relationship breakdown, they would post exciting photographs demonstrating them moving on, such as clubbing or nights out. So how might we build this evaluation up? Well, I hinted at the previous evaluation that there is a resurrection stage. Duck updated his model slightly in 2006 to add a stage that focused on the time after the relationship, so after the grave dressing phase, when each partner needs to then reconsider themselves as an individual. So they'll go on to develop new hobbies and new interests, they might get a new haircut, and Duck argues this isn't a preparation to make themselves an appealing new person, to get themselves ready for a new relationship. How else could we evaluate? Well, we could say that the understanding of this process of relationship disintegration, of relationships falling apart, could be really helpful for relationship counselling. If you notice that a couple is in the didactic phase where they're having a conversation about their issues, but it hasn't yet moved into the social phase, maybe you can do an intervention to help with their communication. One criticism of Duck is these 4 stages are fairly static. There's no consideration about how the stages might be different for men or women. Research seems to indicate that men often suggest that a lack of sex is responsible for the breakdown, and women will suggest that there's no emotional support as a reason for the relationship to end. But one considerable positive to Duck's model is it has very high face validity. It's very relatable for individuals' experiences of going through relationship breakdowns. But this could be a problem with recall. It might be when we hear about Duck's model of breakdown, we then think about our own breakdowns and reorganise the narrative to fit into Duck's stages, when really it might not be quite so neat as that. I really hope you found this video useful in studying psychology. 3 things help this channel grow a lot: likes, comments and subscriptions. Thank you so much if you've done any of those things for this video.